cold blood. After leaving his girlfriend and cousin behind at the hotel, Tupac kills time before the boxing match by hitting the casino tables. At his side is his trusted bodyguard, Frank Alexander.
We get over to the MGM, and he's gambling again on the crap table, and he's winning. He's winning big. He's doing really well.
Yeah, I remember when we got to Vegas, I think Pac had about 10 grand in his pocket, and it was burning a hole in his pocket. He was trying to get rid of it as fast as he could.
At the table, Tupac is joined by members of the outlaw Immortals, his backup group.
They were his singers and his friends that were on a lot of the songs that he was doing at that time.
As usual, everywhere Tupac goes, a crowd follows, especially women.
Tupac and women. The women were a dime a dozen. They were there, the groupies, from the movie sets, from the video sets, from the studio, from Italy, wherever.
In the casino, as in life, Tupac plays for high stakes. Riding high in the charts, he can afford to gamble. But 25 years earlier, on the streets of East Harlem, New York City, few would have laid bets on the future success of young Tupac Shakur. His mother, Afeni Shakur, a member of the radical Black Panther Party, was arrested and charged, along with 20 other members, for conspiring to blow up local buildings. Eventually acquitted of all charges and pregnant with Tupac, Afeni was released from jail after spending 15 months on and off behind bars. And on June 16th, 1971, she gave birth to Tupac Amaru Shakur, who she named after a South American Incan revolutionary, the name meaning shining serpent.
So shining serpent is a brilliant spirit. I actually believed in 1971 that giving a child a name empowers him.
But what did not help empower young Tupac was the absence of his father, also a Black Panther, who was rarely around. Adding to that instability was crippling poverty, at times rendering Tupac and his mother homeless. But in 1986, despite those hardships, Afeni moved to Baltimore and managed to enroll her son in a unique public high school, the Baltimore School for the Arts.
That was a really good experience for Tupac because the other students at the school were all artists. And the environment for artists is different. It's a lot freer. It's a lot less restrictive.
In particular, he fell in love with acting and with rap music.
I think Tupac always believed he could have it all. He could be an incredible and talented MC. He could be an incredible and talented actor. I think he saw no sort of boundaries or limits for, his potential.
In June of 1988, to protect her son from their troubled home life, Afeni sent Tupac to the other end of the country to live with a friend in Marin City, California. But the 16-year-old quickly discovered he had simply traded one nightmare for another.
Marin City, one thing that they're known for is a fist fight. Tupac was a little bitty guy. Even him, fully bulked up, is still a little bitty guy, which makes it even more incredible the kind of the guts that this dude has, because he fears no man, woman, child, animal, none of that, because they can only kill you one time.
Soon, Afeni joined her son in California, but any hope of a happy family reunion was made impossible by her own personal struggles.
My children and I have a bond that is based on the truth and trust. And the bond was broken with a lie. The lie being, I was using drugs, but I can handle it. That's a lie. That lie cost me dearly. Me talking about that period is different from them, because in reality, I found drugs, is what I did. I found the answer. My answer was crack.
At 17, Tupac hooked up with neighborhood friend Ray Love to create his first real group, Strictly Dope.
We didn't fear nothing. We would jump on the stage and perform right now. We didn't need no trays of food. We didn't need a special type of mic. We didn't need a rider. We didn't need a limo. Nah, just give me just one mic, man.
September 7th, 1996, 6:15 p.m. Since arriving in Las Vegas almost 4 hours ago, Tupac Shakur and his entourage have been taking it easy, gambling at the casino and enjoying a few drinks. But in just 5 hours, Tupac Shakur will be gunned down by a cold-blooded killer. On the invitation of his manager and CEO of his record company, Suge Knight, Tupac heads out to see a much-anticipated heavyweight title match between Bruce Seldon and Tupac's close friend, Mike Tyson.
Mike and Pac definitely had a friendship, a special kind of relationship with each other. We were all Tyson fans, you know what I mean? Like, Tyson was a hero for you know, for us kids from the ghetto.
Since their arrival, Tupac has insisted that his girlfriend Kidada and his cousin Jamala stay back at the hotel. This party is just for the boys.
And I could remember us saying to each other, like, wow, why would they bring us out here and we can't even go to the fight, we can't go to the parties. He don't even want us downstairs. And he kept saying, please, he begged us, please don't go downstairs, please y'all stay up here.
With his girlfriend and cousin safe and sound in their hotel room, Tupac and his bodyguard Frank Alexander head out to the MGM Grand, where the Tyson fight is about to get underway. But for Tupac, getting inside isn't so easy.
There were a ton of people. There were a ton of people in line waiting to get into the fight. As we're walking by, you know, hey, that's Tupac. You know, you hear the whispering, oh, that's Pac. You get the groupies and you get the fans, you know, screaming Tupac.
As they move through the crowd, adoring fans, however, are not the bodyguard's only concern. The famous rapper also has his share of enemies. His recent song, Hit 'Em Up, a scathing attack on fellow rapper Biggie Smalls, has stirred up anger within the hip-hop community. For Frank Alexander, it's a real concern.
And I told Pac, I go, Pac, man, what's up with that song? He was like, oh, man, you heard that, man? He goes, that was off the hook, huh? He goes, they playing it everywhere. He goes, man, it's all in the clubs, man. It's going to be bad. It's going to hot, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, Pac, dude, you're going to need more security. I go, I'm not going to be able to just handle you by yourself.
Alexander calls on MGM guards for additional backup. For Tupac, the man who's built a career on confrontation, the constant threat of violence is just par for the course. But back in 1990, only 6 years earlier, few had ever even heard of Tupac Shakur. Still down and out in Marin City, California, and desperately trying to break into the music business, he caught the eye of established Oakland rapper Shock G, who offered Tupac a gig as a dancer in his group, Digital Underground.
He saw Pac had no home to go back to, and, you know, he gave him an opportunity.
It was just the break Tupac had been waiting for. Suddenly, the teenager was circling the planet on a world tour.
Tupac had a lot of fun running around with Digital Underground. They were calling from Japan, and they were calling from London, and they were calling from Italy, and they were calling from Australia.
A natural showman, Tupac graduated from just dancing to stepping up behind the mic. The move was an immediate success.
Pac was a master at, he could take your style and do it a little bit different or a little bit better than you. And that was something. And so that's how he dealt with every situation.
Soon, Tupac had his first record deal. And in November 1991, Tupacalypse Now was released. The album featured a strong and sometimes contradictory mix of violent anthems and compassionate social commentaries about poverty, broken homes, and drug abuse.
If you look at his music, he had songs that were so negative about women and talked about them like they were just nothing. And then he had a whole series of other songs where he was putting all women, mothers and black women and all women on such a pedestal. He was a complicated guy.
In his writing, Tupac drew from his various experiences. Raised in a politically charged Black Panther home, exposed to the fine arts, and schooled on the streets.
That he was a poet, you know what I mean, first. I think Pac was just so in tune with himself that he can do whatever kind of song and not feel like if people hear it, they're gonna think I'm weak.
He's a fan of himself as well. He would go, listen to what I said. Oh my God, the boy is nice. And this is how he would say it. He'd be like, oh my God, the boy is nice. Yo, Jamala, listen to this. This is how I kick it. And he would recite a little verse out that song, and he'll go, oh, I'm so nice, I'm so nice, I'm killing them, I'm killing them. I'll be like, Pac, he is crazy.
Since he was a kid, Tupac had also fantasized about becoming an actor. And in 1991, he made his second dream come true. He starred in the critically acclaimed film, Juice.
Juice came out. When I went to go see it, the girls were screaming. That was fly. That was some to see.
From the moment Juice came out, everybody was talking about Pac. It was just obvious that, you know, he was on the verge of something really major. That role helped him more than the music did.
He would come downstairs and he would like spread his legs apart and his arms, shake his jewelry off and everything, pull his collar up and say, I'm a legend in my own time. And I would say, Dag, Pac, man, in another 10 years, you're gonna be the most powerful man in America. He was like, yeah, watch and see, I am.
Things were looking good for Tupac. The following year, his mother, Afeni Shakur, now clean and sober, re-entered his life. Once again, they were a family.
I discovered that when a child says to you, you're my mother, when they give you authority over their lives as their parent, that they can withdraw that authority. And my children withdrew it. I didn't take it back. They gave it back to me.
But with the good came the bad. In 1992, Tupac was arrested for allegedly attacking a limo driver. In 1993, he was charged with assaulting another rapper with a baseball bat. In another incident, he was charged with attacking film director Alan Hughes with a weapon. In Atlanta, Georgia, he was arrested, although later released, for the alleged shooting of 2 off-duty policemen. It seemed that Tupac Amaru Shakur was taking his gangster image rather too literally.
Well, Pac, you got to realize of, you know, where he come from and his family's history with the police. And they hated Pac. They hated Tupac.
I don't know if it was that his heart was a Black Panther heart. I don't know if that was it, but Tupac just had no patience for law enforcement, and I don't know that he had respect for law enforcement. And so I think, why were the authorities mad? Because Tupac was thumbing his nose at them and worse.
Mr. Shakur, can we get a comment from you at all?
Hell no. Thug life. Thug life. Thug life. That's my comment.
What's that mean? I don't understand. This is yours.
Pac always felt like he would be a statistic. But he said, if I'm going to be a statistic and America's going to thoroughly me over, I'm going to be the ultimate statistic that I can be.
In the battle between Tupac the artist and Tupac the streetwise thug, it appeared that the dark side was winning. And soon, on the streets of Vegas, on a warm summer's night, that darkness will swallow him whole.
Isto é um excesso. Um lugar onde as regras não se aplicam e a velocidade a que se anda depende de quanto dinheiro se tem. E quando se pensa nas máquinas mais velozes da estrada, vem-nos a ideia a Fórmula 1, supermotos ou patins a jato. Mas provavelmente isso é porque nunca viram a Dodge Tomahawk. Um monstro com 500 cavalos e uma velocidade máxima estimada em mais de 480 km por hora. Isto é, cerca de 5 vezes mais veloz que uma cheetah e 15 vezes mais veloz que o humano mais rápido. Infelizmente, os humanos cansam-se depressa. E tentar montar uma cheetah não é uma boa ideia. Concebida como uma forma de exibir um motor Dodge Viper de 10 cilindros, oficialmente a Tomahawk é uma escultura sobre rodas. É uma obra-prima. Sem dúvida! O que é uma maneira muito inteligente de dizer que é ilegal conduzi-la na estrada. Mas com um preço de mais de $500 mil, é provável que os 10 felizes proprietários tenham as suas próprias estradas ou as suas próprias pistas de corrida. Posso dar uma volta? Não, cheiras mal.
O meu nome é Josh Bernstein. A minha paixão é explorar. Procurar mistérios. Histórias. Coisas que é preciso ver para acreditar. A aventura está lá fora. A minha meta é encontrá-la. Venha comigo.
A Descoberta do Desconhecido. Estreia segunda-feira, 10 de novembro, às 21h15. Só no Discovery.
Novos episódios. Novos mitos. Novas experiências. E velhos truques.
Let's blow it up.
Na estreia de Os Caçadores de Mitos. Sábados às 21h15. Só no Discovery.
Crea tu propio mito. Little Big Planet.
PlayStation 3.
September 7th, 1996, 8:35 p.m. Tupac Shakur has just finished watching a boxing match at the MGM Grand, where his close friend Mike Tyson pulverized his opponent Bruce Seldon in less than 2 minutes. Backstage, Tupac is accompanied by Suge Knight, his manager and the owner of his record company, Death Row. With them is Tupac's security guard, Frank Alexander, and various Death Row Records associates. It's clear to everyone that Tupac Shakur is still revved up from the fight.
And he's just going off, you know, man, 50 blows, 50, man, he knocked them out, 50 blows.
As the group enters the MGM Grand's lobby, one of Suge Knight's Death Row employees passes on a message to Tupac Shakur.
One of Suge's guys, his name is Trevon, came over and whispered in Tupac's right ear.
Trevon has spotted a man in the hotel lobby that he claims robbed him a few weeks earlier. The man is also a member of the Southside Crips, sworn rivals of another big LA gang, the Bloods, with whom Death Row is said to be affiliated. Tupac Shakur, the king of gangster rap, decides to teach the man a lesson.
And Pac just ran up on him and...
Fired up by the boxing match, the Death Row entourage, including its CEO, Suge Knight, joined Tupac in the feeding frenzy. In the chaos, Frank Alexander pulls Tupac from the brawl.
I grabbed him and got him out of the fight. Orlando Anderson's on the ground and everybody's kicking at him, beating him down.
2 years earlier, in New York City, Tupac was involved in a different kind of battle, a fight for his very life. On November 30th, 1994, in the lobby of a Times Square recording studio, he was robbed of $40,000 worth of jewelry and shot 5 times at close range by a group of unidentified black men. While police wrote it off as a random robbery, Tupac saw it as an act of retaliation by one of his many enemies within the hip-hop community. Tupac had become a moving target. His aggressive music had angered both police and community leaders. His verbal attacks on other rappers had created friction within the world of hip-hop. As a rich and powerful black man, everybody was lining up to take a shot at Tupac Shakur.
But he was just a cat that just refused to back down. You know, that was just him. He just refused to back down. I loved it about him, but I also knew that can be a downfall too. You know, and that's what I was really trying to give to him, that can't just run up on anybody, man. They'll kill you out here. For real.
Tupac knew where he lived. He knew what the system was. He knew what he agreed with and what he didn't agree with. But he also knew that if he didn't make an effort to make capital in a capitalist society, he wasn't going to be able to do anything that he wanted. You understand?
Tupac's image as a thug was catching up with him. The shooting had left him with 5 bullet wounds, the most serious of which was a severed artery in his thigh. Tupac was paying the price for not only writing about our violent culture, but also for being a part of it.
This is all about my image. Has nothing to do with me. This is all about my image. It's like MTV, all the papers, they building me up. Now they destroying me on the same image that they perpetuated. You know what I'm saying? I'm selling records. This is what I do for a living. I'm selling records. Don't get it twisted. This is not my real life. This is not how my real life is supposed to be. I'm not supposed to be really having all these villains in my life.
You can't blame a rapper for murders unless you're gonna blame Arnold Schwarzenegger for all the people he killed in Terminator. You know what I'm saying? How you gonna blame a rapper when we only speak it, and then you got actors who show it, but you don't blame them?
Less than 5 hours after his operation, and against doctors' advice, Tupac Shakur checked himself out of the hospital. He had other problems to deal with. The rapper was due in court to face rape charges brought by a 19-year-old woman. Charges he angrily denied.
Why am I in court? You know what I'm saying? Get my life ripped apart. But I'm here, I'm gonna go through it just to show that I have faith in the American system. But soon I'm gonna go crazy.
Acquitted of sodomy and weapons charges, Tupac was instead convicted of forcibly touching the woman's buttocks, a felony sex abuse charge. He was given the maximum sentence, up to 4.5 years behind bars. To his legions of fans, it seemed that the law was making an example of Tupac Shakur. While at the Clinton Correctional Facility in upstate New York, Tupac seemed to undergo a startling transformation. The king of gangster rap publicly denounced thug life.
Well, you got to realize when Pac was in jail, you know, jail will make you start thinking. And you're gonna do anything you can to get out of jail, you know? So, to me, when he denounced thug life, it was like, you know, I'm only playing. Let me get up out of here.
But getting out of there wasn't so simple.
Obviously, Pac was in a dire position, being incarcerated, and, you know, his money being dwindled down because of all the cases, and, you know what I mean, fighting these bogus lawsuits and all of that.
In exchange for signing with Death Row and taking him on as his manager, Suge Knight promised to get Tupac out on bail. And soon enough, the all-powerful godfather of hip-hop made it happen.
I never saw the contract. I just remember the phone call. You know what I'm saying? Calling us saying, you know, I'm on Death Row now. You know, I just signed with Death Row.
They tried to control Tupac. Even when they sent him to Death Row, they thought Suge was gonna be able to control him. But you know, that was just like putting a flame with some dynamite. That's gonna blow.
Death Row put Tupac up at the posh Peninsula Hotel in LA to recuperate, re-energize, and get back on his feet.
He was coming off a #1 album with Me Against the World and a #1 record with Dead Mama, so he was doing his own thing. It's not like he needed Death Row, but in a sense, he needed them at that moment because it's like, hey, they gave me a $1.4 million bail. You know what I'm saying? I need to get out of jail.
September 7th, 1996. 9 p.m. Las Vegas, Nevada. After beating up an alleged Crips gang member in the lobby of the MGM Grand Hotel, Tupac and his entourage make their way back to their rooms to change before heading to Club 662, where Tupac is scheduled to play. In less than 3 hours, Tupac Shakur will be left for dead.
I remember Tupac coming back to the hotel, and he was really excited. So he came upstairs and he was like, Jamala, you wouldn't believe it. I did a 1-2 on the dude. I knocked him out. I did a Mike Tyson on him. He didn't really get into details about who he was fighting or what the fight was about, but he was really happy that he got a chance to test his ring out on somebody's face.
While getting dressed, Tupac decides not to wear his bulletproof vest, a garment not out of place on a man with so many enemies.
I remember Castro saying to Pac, you know, you should put your vest on. I think you should wear your vest tonight. You know, Pac saying, nah, it's too hot. I don't want to wear my vest tonight. It's too hot for that.
Normally he wouldn't leave without it, but this time he left it. He didn't have it with him.
After the short pit stop, Tupac and the others wind their way across the strip to a mansion belonging to Suge Knight, Tupac's manager and the owner of Death Row Records. Suge and Tupac disappear briefly while the others wait impatiently.
I don't really know what Pac and Suge was doing at the time. You know what I mean? I just know we was waiting and I was ready to go.
Almost everything in Suge Knight's mansion is red, the official color of the mob Piru, an offshoot of the LA gang, the Bloods.
He wore a lot of red. You know, it was his choice of color. He was from Compton. His hood, his set were of, you know, Bloods. So by him wearing red, if that's what he was representing, then that was on him.
Some felt that by associating with a record label connected to the Bloods, Tupac was making himself yet more enemies. This time with the Bloods' arch rivals, the Southside Crips. But his bodyguard, Frank Alexander, saw it differently.
Tupac was not gang-related. If you want to represent a color with Tupac, it would have been green, and that's the color of money.
After about half an hour, with Tupac and the others ready to leave for Club 662, Tupac makes an unusual request to his bodyguard.
I was walking to the car with Suge and with Tupac, and I was actually opening up the back door to get in the back seat. And Pac stopped and said, no, take the keys and go drive the Lexus with the Outlaws in it, because we're going to be drinking and you're going to be the designated driver to drive us back after we've finished partying over at 662.
Tupac's last-minute arrangement comes at the urging of Suge Knight, who wants to talk privately with his star rapper. The procession snakes its way back to the Vegas Strip for the concert at Club 662, a concert he will never get to play. Less than a year earlier, Tupac had seemed invincible. He'd survived a point-blank shooting in New York, he'd survived jail time in a maximum security prison, and he'd emerged more popular than ever. His first album with Death Row, All Eyes on Me, took him to the top. Within 3 weeks, the album went platinum. Yet, despite this success, Tupac decided that when the time came, he would not renew his contract with Death Row Records.
Tupac was ready to leave the record label, and there was a reason for it. So You know, that reason only his mom and the immediate people within his camp would know what that reason was.
Privately, Tupac believed that death row was not giving him a fair cut of the money he was bringing in. But death row was not Tupac's only problem. He was also fighting with an old rival, New York-based rapper Biggie Smalls, who he'd attacked repeatedly in his songs. Their feud fueled rumors of a war between East Coast and West Coast rappers.
Well, the East Coast, West Coast beef was like a mirage. It wasn't true, you know, because all Pac is from the East Coast, all the outlaws from the East Coast, you know? It was just a beef that he had with Biggie.
Tupac had spent the last 6 years fighting with the cops, the courts, other rappers, and now violent gangs. It was getting increasingly hard to tell his friends from his enemies. And now, as Tupac rides to Club 662 with Suge Knight, he has no idea that one of those enemies is about to strike back.
Once we got to Flamingo, we made a right-hand turn. We came to a stoplight, which was Koval.
As Tupac's bodyguard follows in the car behind, the convoy inches forward. And as usual, Tupac draws the attention of his fans. Then, suddenly, out of nowhere, a white Cadillac.
As it got closer to the BMW, the arm came out and the gun just started firing.
Suge's car is hit with a spray of bullets. 4 of them rip into Tupac's body. Another grazes Suge Knight's head.
And after the Cadillac shot into the car, I thought they were dead. My reaction was to run up to the car, and instead the car took off.
Suge's bullet-riddled BMW makes a hard U-turn and races off in the opposite direction.
I didn't know what to think. It was a fog. It was a haze. Were these real bullets? Did they really shoot these guys?
Badly damaged, the car soon blows its tires and breaks down close by. And, for the second time in his short life, Tupac Shakur is looking death in the face.
Salvar o planeta pode começar com uma ideia simples. Embora não seja pequena, trata-se de uma ideia simples. Como criar sombras para arrefecer a Terra. É claro que não é tão fácil como mudar uma lâmpada. Nem toda a gente pode fazê-lo, mas nós podemos. E o que começou como uma ideia simples ganhou agora vida própria. E está prestes a passar da teoria à prática. Iremos lançar milhões de minúsculas lentes para refletir o Sol. Iremos envolver um glaciar em alumínio para parar o degelo. Faremos que chovam árvores para reconstruir florestas. Colocaremos moinhos de vento nas nuvens. Estas iniciativas podem ser vitais para a Terra. São experiências que têm uma grande repercussão à escala global. Ideias simples que podem salvar o planeta. 8 experiências que podem mudar o mundo. Parece-lhe bem? Como salvar o planeta? Terças-feiras às 22h10. Só no Discovery.
What Korean air is made of.
Excellence in flight. Korean Air.
Se desafiar a montanha, vou subir. Prepare-se.
Talvez não sobreviva esta noite.
Para pagar o preço de encarar a morte de frente.
Talvez não sobreviva esta noite. Para pagar o preço de encarar a morte de frente.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 1
Meu Deus, está aí um corpo. Tenha cuidado. Seja forte.
Everest 2, quartas às 22h10, só no Discovery.
Novos meios de transporte.
Voar é o sonho de toda a gente.
Novos avanços médicos.
Isto vai acontecer.
Novas formas de trabalhar.
Sentimos que estamos no mesmo lugar. Tudo será novo.
O mundo do amanhã. Terças-feiras às 21h15, só no Discovery.
September 7th, 1996, Las Vegas. At 11:17 p.m., a hail of bullets cut down superstar rapper Tupac Shakur. Mortally wounded with a punctured lung, he's rushed to University Medical Center, where he undergoes 2 emergency operations. His right lung is removed to stop internal bleeding, and he's induced into a coma from which he will never awake.
He was cussing and crying and mad. And what was going through my mind was that we just went through this in New York.
I saw Jamala, and who had had quite a night. And, you know, it started. People started arriving, and what I remember is that there was never a time where somebody wasn't there with him. When I went in, he was, you know, in a medically induced coma, and I never thought he was going to die. Never. Not one time did I think he was actually going to die.
When I first seen Tupac on a hospital bed, and he had all these tubes connected to him, and I knew then that he was gonna have to fight for his life.
For 6 days, Tupac remains in a coma. Throughout, his family gathers in an around-the-clock vigil, refusing to accept the inevitable.
We all had this thing, and I guess he did too, is to where, like, Pac is indestructible. So when he got shot the second time in Las Vegas, we were like, man, it's Pac, dude.
But on September 13th, 1996, at only 25 years old, Tupac Shakur's short but violent life comes to an abrupt end. His death leaves many feeling lost.
When he dies in the street, whoa, man, what is going on in America, man? What is going on in America where you make it and you still don't make it out?
Meanwhile, the criminal investigation into Tupac's murder is stonewalled when witnesses refuse to cooperate. Theories on who pulled the trigger are rife. Some suggest a revenge attack by the Crips for the beating in the MGM lobby. Some point the finger at longtime Tupac rival Biggie Smalls, who will also be shot to death 7 months later. Others still speak of a setup by Suge Knight, who knew Tupac was planning to leave Death Row Records. Whatever the truth, on the streets of LA, retaliation for Tupac's death comes fast and furious. Over a 10-day period, 12 shootings erupt between rival gangs. 3 are killed, 22 are arrested. In death, Tupac becomes even more popular. He goes on to sell over 75 million albums worldwide and enters the Guinness Book of World Records as the highest-selling rap artist of all time.
They lost a great man. They lost an activist, a poet, a rapper, a brother, a friend. He was one of the great ones. Yeah, he was.
He's not a perfect person. He's not a perfect rap star. He's not a perfect pop star. I think people liked him all the more for that.
that sense of humor, man. Dude was funny. It's not all, you know, not all what you see, you know, the toughness and the bravado and all of that. We did more laughing than we did any of that tough gangster.
His mother, Afeni, takes the family reins. In 1997, the Tupac Shakur Foundation is created to provide training and support for creative students. That same year, the University of California, Berkeley, offers a course entitled The Poetry and History of Tupac Shakur.
I speak to him all the time because it matters to me what he thinks about what we're doing. It matters to me. So I believe that he hears me.
To this day, Tupac Shakur's killer has never been found.